Hi, guys. Welcome to the Marketing Rizz Podcast. I am your host, Crispino, and today we have with us Melisa from Denver. Melisa is the author of two books. She has done her PhD in nuclear engineering and radiology sciences from the University of Michigan. Melisa now helps leaders transform their teams, build cultures where failure fuels innovation, and promote experiments over legacy frameworks. So, welcome to the show, Melissa. It is great to have you here with us.
Thank you. I am so pleased to be here with you.
Amazing. So, Melissa, yeah, to start off the podcast, can you start off by telling our viewers and listeners a bit about yourself and what you do?
Okay, well, I think you've covered a lot of it, but I think the thing to know is that I spent a lot of years in high tech and doing either developing technology or doing operations in technology. And so that's where my perspective comes from. I am very much a experimentalist, so I love experimentation. And as a part of the experimentation, I really like to see people take risk and take chances so they can learn. And optimizing learning is really a big part of what I stand for.
Lovely, lovely. Melissa, you're going to love me then because after 13 years working in the corporate jungle, last year in November, I quit my very high paying corporate job of a marketing director and I started my own agency, if you may call it. So that's a huge risk. Everybody is calling me stupid and like, what are you doing? But I think I enjoy this. I love this. Having to meet you, some lovely guests on my podcast, talk to so many different people. It's like a dream come true. And for anybody wondering, no, me and Melissa did not plan our outfits today. I know we are twining and we look the same. We have different shades of green, but it was by a coincidence. So yeah, thank you so much, Melissa. That was a great introduction, and I think your knowledge and your wisdom will be really helpful to a lot of my audience who are entrepreneurs, leaders who are taking risks. Some might not take risks. So hopefully, by the end of this podcast, they'll be forced towards taking some risks. So let's see if we can get them there.
All right, that
Cool.
sounds good.
Yes. So to begin with, Melissa, yeah. So firstly, what are some of the common challenges that leaders come to you with?
So, a lot of what I see are specifically related to, hey, we've got this big project. This big thing is changing in our company, in our organization. So, we need some help making that successful. So, I spend a lot of time with organizations looking at the issues that might come up, create risk, and help them address that. Another scenario is really around continuous improvement. So I have a background in lean and I spend time with people looking at how do you develop a lean culture, one that has a very strong respect for people and makes it safe for people to operate in that type of organization.
Could you touch a bit on lean culture? Like, what does exactly that entail, and how does a lean culture look like in a startup environment?
Well, a lot of people, when they think of lean, they think of tools. And here's a toolbox that I'm going to give you, 5S, and here's an FMEA, or here's a 5S problem solving tool. But really, if you're looking at just tools, then you've missed the whole point of lean. Lean is about really getting everybody involved in making the culture better and making the organization better. And if everybody's involved, if everybody's owning it, then you can't help but have a much better yield, a much better organization. And so that's where this respect for people is such a big part of what lean stands for. Is we've got to start there. We've got to start with respect for people. We've got to let people be safe in their work environment. And from there, then they can really grow and blossom and just bloom into amazing problem solvers.
Yeah, so I have two questions in my mind right now. So let me ask you the first one. How have you seen the workplace evolve over time? I'm sure you've been in the workforce now for over maybe a couple of decades. So since when you got started till now with the introduction of AI and Gen Z into the workplace, how has it evolved for you?
Well, AI is making it really painfully obvious which teams had real strategic depth and which ones are just good at producing volume. So, because
Hmm.
everyone can produce volume now,
Yeah.
the bar for execution is
Hmm.
dropping, which means
Yeah.
the premium shifts to positioning, insight, originality, and judgment. So AI is really making a lot of people say it's eliminating humans, right? But I would say that it's accelerating the need for
Hmm.
really good leadership
Yeah.
such that it's making it a judgment test for us as
Absolutely.
humans.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. And you said the bar also of strategy or execution is really high. So yeah, I mean, I've seen people just produce AI slop and just publish it out there on LinkedIn just cause you can. And you can easily now, I mean, with trained eyes, you know which is written by AI and which one is written, which one the creator has actually put in efforts into creating, and that actually makes a difference when we see it. Opportunity to work with Gen Zs, and how do you see them fit into the work culture?
I'm super excited about all generations, frankly, because if you get down to it, I understand that they want to do meaningful work. Gen Z, it's
Yeah.
really important for them to make a meaningful impact and for their work to really make a difference. And I'm like their biggest cheerleader. So go for it. And they're really interested in working smarter and
Yeah.
finding tools that help them work smarter. So, hey, good for them. Let's, why didn't we think of that?
Absolutely. And I think they have a lot of courage, like things that they say or do at the workplace, millennials or boomers wouldn't dare to think or say that kind of stuff to
Mm,
their managers. So I love them as well. Absolutely. I think they have
right.
they kind of fought our battle. What we wish we'd do, we could have done, they are actually doing it. So that's amazing.
Right. Yes.
So you spoke earlier about lean team and about making the employee feel secure, right? But I've seen in my experience a lot of leaders lead with fear and they
Mm.
believe that is the best way to manage a team. So what's your take on that and how do you view that?
Well, I think a lot of the fear comes from maybe the pressure that we're under. And pressure tends to be like, it kind of brings out the worst in people, especially in leaders, right? Because when we're under pressure, what happens is we see it as a threat. And what happens in our brain is that, we're like, it's not that we're faced with this deadline or we're faced with something. We're faced with a saber-toothed tiger and they're about to eat us. And that's the way our brain treats it. So we go back into caveman
Fight or
mode.
flight.
Right, right. And so when our amygdala gets activated, we can't make good decisions. So it's important when we're under these pressure conditions, when we're in this, hot pot, that we make decisions where we really preserve clarity. And what that means is that we are like making sure that the decision cycles are shortened, that we simplify the criteria for making decisions as much as possible, and we make sure that the right decisions are reaching the right altitude. So every decision in an organization doesn't need to go all the way to the top. Some decisions can be made at all levels. And so we want to make sure that we're hitting that sweet spot with those. And I think a lot of times we underestimate how much emotional regulation affects strategic quality. So if we're
Hmm.
anxious, if we're ego driven, or if we're trying to manage a whole bunch of optics, our decisions are going to be distorted. So pressure doesn't just test our intelligence. What it's doing is it's testing our discipline.
Absolutely. You spoke about strategy there, Melissa. So I'd like to ask you, what does strategic thinking mean in today's business environment?
Sure. Yeah. So to me, strategic thinking is really structured choice making under uncertainty. So it's the ability to separate what matters from what's just urgent. Like there's a whole lot of urgent stuff
Hmm.
that just shows up every day. But
Yeah.
if we're thinking strategically, then we know how to separate those. And we need to be able to make coherent decisions around all of those conditions. So a lot of people confuse strategy with long-term, long-range predictions, but that's not what strategy is. Strategy isn't perfectly forecasting the future. It's about understanding the landscape, identifying what leverage points there are, and then placing smart bets that allow you to stay as flexible as possible. So when I
That's very
think
important.
about
Yeah.
strategic thinking, what I think about are four really important questions. So one, what's changing?
Hmm.
Two, what's not changing? Three, where do we have leverage? And then four, which bets are reversible and which ones aren't? So that framing then can help us avoid reacting to every headline or every email that comes in. And instead, we can really focus on building a really strong, durable advantage.
That's interesting. And I think you made a very good point with being flexible over there because given the market scenario, you don't know what's going to happen the next day, let alone the next week or month or quarter. So I think
Right.
being nimble is very important. And I've seen founders many a time stick to their strategy because that's what they paid someone $5,000 to create.
Right.
But I think, yeah, you got to be nimble in today's world and be flexible enough to make those decisions. I've also seen a lot of businesses, startups have a strategy, but they fail to execute it. What, according to you, may be some reasons why that happens?
Well, I think there's a lot of uncertainty in the world today. You know, I think we want for everything to be certain when we make a decision, or we want it to be as certain as possible. And I'm sorry, things are changing way too fast. We are not going to have that luxury. And so we've got to stop equating certainty with credibility. So it makes us, I don't like this terminology, but it kind of gives us this fake confidence, right? That, what we need to provide our teams, what we need when we're leading an organization is to have clear, calm direction when we're leading our teams. So when the future is unclear, when it's uncertain, we need to have a very crisp handle on the things that I just talked about, right? What do we know? What do we need to know? And how are we going to decide what we need to learn? So those
Yeah.
are those are really important. And I think that's a big thing for building trust in an organization so people can see that the leadership isn't just, like frozen or flailing or whatever, but they're being responsive and intentional and deliberate with their decision making. So it's being clear with the decisions helps a lot when you've got a strategy and there's a whole bunch of uncertainty around it.
I just want to know one of your experiences, maybe where you were in a sticky situation or you went in to help someone who was in a sticky situation. What was the situation like, and what methods did you apply over there, and what were the results?
Yeah. So I think, one of the things that people are really concerned about is risk and the amount of risk that there is. And I was asked by an organization to help the team evaluate, oh, we've got this equipment that is always failing. What do we do? And so really looking at that and identifying where we need to focus, where we need to prioritize is really, really important. But if we don't understand the risk, if we don't understand where we're vulnerable, we're not going to be able to do that. So I worked with a foundry recently that had, I want to say it was 80-year-old equipment mostly, and the equipment was failing. And so we took every process, broke it down, and that's what it takes is looking at every little piece. Where are we in control? Do we have the controls in place to be able to manage the risk? Or do we need to put controls in place? And one of the things we found is we didn't have the controls in place that we needed to. And so, okay, well, that's great. Now we know where the controls are needed. So let's start working on those.
Lovely. So, Melissa, you spoke about AI earlier in this conversation. So, what's been your run-in with AI? Like, how have you used AI, and what's your take on it?
So I see AI as like I love it. I think it's the best thing because AI is my partner. I've got a tool now. I don't have to remember everything myself now. I've got a partner who can do the execution. I can do the thinking.
Mm,
AI can do the execution. And that helps me a lot. You know, a lot of people are talking about, oh, we've got to pick the best tools. We got to move faster, all this stuff. Let's, use your judgment, use good judgment, good sound judgment. And that way you can really make good decisions.
yeah. I think even there's still a debate going on between GPT, Claude, and Perplexity. I think they all are, or Gemini as well, into that mix. And I think they all are pretty much the same. You just got to figure out what works for you. And if you're happy with the results, then I think you should just continue it. Like, you don't have to go on, keep trying all the tools to get the best one out there. Maybe some tools are better for someone else or for a different purpose. And if you are finding that GPT is good for you, then I think that's it. You don't have to have a competition with the tools. You can just use the one that works for you. That's all.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, how do you think leaders should view AI when they want to incorporate it into their systems? Not just because it is a cool to have feature, but something from the long run perspective, and to actually get the benefits out of it. How do you think leaders should actually view AI and adopt it in their business?
So I think that we need to, like I said earlier, AI is a judgment test for leaders. So we really need to rethink our whole role in organizations. So the
Yeah,
context of leadership is now changing. So the responsibility is still for a leader to create direction, performance, and inspire trust. But what's changed is the speed and the shape of the environment that we're working in. So AI is accelerating execution. It's lowering the cost of experimentation, right? And it's
love it.
changing, more importantly, it's changing
Hmm.
our customer expectations. So this means that we can't ask, how do we use AI? We
Hmm.
need to start asking, how does AI change the value that gets created in our business? So the biggest mistake that a lot of people are making is treating AI like it's some productivity feature that they're going to bolt on to,
Yeah.
their organization, right? The more strategic question that we need to be asking is whether it changes your workflows, whether it changes your org design, whether it changes your talent model or, your competitive moat, right? So these are things we need to be looking at, questions we need to be asking.
That I couldn't have said that any better. Melissa, any message for all the people who are going to say the AI bubble is about to burst?
I think the big message that we need to embrace right now is not that it's going to burst, but that is here to stay, and that if we're going to thrive in this time right now, it won't necessarily be because we've got we're screaming the loudest or that we're the fastest. It's going to be the people who are going to thrive are the ones who can think clearly in the midst of the uncertainty, in all this ambiguity. It's the people who are going to make smart bets. It's the people who can build really adaptive teams that can evolve without losing their core value. So for people out there who are worried about AI taking your job or disrupting your industry, well, guess what? AI, it's going to scale production, but it can't scale originality. AI, it can provide all the answers, but it can't provide the judgment to know if it's the right answer for you or your team. AI is going to it's going to execute. It's going to be able to
Yeah,
execute. But you know what? It can't feel all the emotions, all the funk that comes along with failing and experimenting. And
yeah,
it can't choose to get back up. So our ability to face plant, learn, and then free ourselves to try again is like, it's one of the biggest things that's not programmable. So we shouldn't fear
Yeah.
this. Actually, what we should fear is stagnation. So if we're
Yeah.
not embracing all this change, that's where we'll
Yeah.
end up. So if we want to thrive in this age of AI, we need to be the
Yeah.
ones who are really clear in ambiguity, move with discipline, and really help our teams adapt without losing their core, without losing their center.
Melissa, but do you think this is like a more of a personal trait? Because I love that. Whatever you said, I could relate to that. And I kind of reach a level and then I cut everything down and I want to start again from zero. And I've done this a few times in my life where it is going really well and I'm just bored of it, I guess. Or it's just going too well for me that I need to start over all over again I don't know why I do that, but I keep doing that. And I don't see that risk appetite or that level of risk any other normal person would want to take. Cause I think I'm a little crazy for doing that every time. And I made it every time, touch wood, with the grace of God. But yeah, so do you think it's also maybe a human trait to kind of be okay with getting face planted? Like now, if I face plant once again, I know I'm going to get back up. Like I've done it so many times that I know I'll do it again. But do you think that's more also maybe a human trait than something that a normal person would be ready to do?
Well, I think that we don't naturally run toward failure, right? That's not our natural way of being, especially as we grow up, right? Because we've learned that failure is bad. It's ingrained in us, right? If you think about when we were toddlers, we failed all the time. You watch a 2-year old or an 18-month-old who's trying to learn to walk, and they're like fall down, fall down, fall down, fall down, and then eventually they start walking, but they might fall 10,000 times before they're walking. So that's how we started. But now look at us. We're afraid to take any chances. We're
Yeah,
afraid to leave our comfort zone. And so if we want to learn and grow in our lives, we're going to have to take chances. We're going to have to struggle. We're going to have to fail occasionally so that we can get better, so that we can
love that.
grow. Yeah.
Love that. Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. And
I feel a little passionate about this. I don't know if you can tell.
yes, absolutely. Me too. I didn't, I mean, speaking to you, I can see a lot of my own traits or the way I think reflecting in you. Like I think we have the same kind of approach to life, if you may. So, but I think that's the fun of life, right? Otherwise, life just gets so boring and so
Exactly.
monotonous. Yeah. So, any leader who's on the brink of maybe boredom or who wants to take a risk or who wants to experiment but is afraid to experiment and move away from their legacy systems which have been maybe doing well for them in the past, what would be your kind of message to them?
Start with small experiments. There's a really great, I'd recommend Faceplant. Read Faceplant. Free yourself from failure's funk, because it really gives you a framework for allowing you to get to the other side and experience freedom around failure. So read Faceplant. The other book I'd recommend is Tiny Experiments. Tiny Experiments is such a great book because she talks about in this book how we can build these small experiments, that it's okay to fail with this small experiment. And maybe you start with things in your personal life. Maybe you don't start in your organization with these small experiments. But if you can build a culture where it's safe to fail, where it's safe to talk about failure, my goodness, like that's when innovation is really possible, because people can be so creative when they don't fear failing. They can just
That
let their curiosity, let their mind wander, and they can experience such freedom around failure, especially if you're reflecting as a team and really encouraging everyone to participate and get involved.
love that message, Melissa. I think that was the best way to sum up the podcast. Yeah, definitely. I hope if anybody is watching this podcast and who wants to take risks, you can definitely learn a lot from this episode. And thank you for sharing your experiences. Melissa, so before I let you go, if there is anyone in my audience who wants to connect with you, how should they reach out to you?
I am on LinkedIn, and my mom spelled my name really funny, but Melisa, and last name is Buie, Buie. And then I also have a website. So feel free to connect on my website, and my email is there. And I'm happy to talk. I'm happy to, I'd love feedback on the book. I'd love feedback on anything on LinkedIn. So yeah, I'm on LinkedIn every day, respond to all comments. So I would love to engage and connect with people on there.
Love that. Love that. I'll put the links of your LinkedIn, of your website in the description of this video. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you, they can message you. So I hope you had a good time, Marissa. I had a blast chatting with you,
Definitely.
and I hope you
Yeah.
enjoyed it as well.
This is stuff I
Awesome.
love talking about. So anytime.
Love it. Love it. All right, Marissa. Thank you so much. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.